I don't see the quantum moment as so much a defining new turn in human intelligence. I see it as the extension of this evolving, emergent, incipient story. We're challenged now to see how our time, how our age fits into that story.
Now, for a very long time, the metaphor, for instance, from Newtonian science was states as billiard balls. Action, reaction.
In a military establishment, we can often get stuck in our way of thinking. We need to embrace these new thoughts, these new ideas.
Quantum may be able to provide me with what I might call a sort of macro molecular architecture for thinking about the kind of context in which cultural complexity occurs.
Here we stand at the dawn of an entirely new revolution in a number of ways to do it.
The heart of quantum physics is uncertainty. For me, that's how I look at my own identity as well.
It's so exciting to be able to be in a place where you can see science being developed. It's so rare. I've been inspired by the profound level of thought. I mean, the thought that raises the hair on your skin.
If we start to move into another scientific paradigm, like quantum, that seems, in my mind, a more apt description of the world as it operates now. We are on this hill. We've assembled what I think to be some of the best thinkers from a very wide spectrum. There's an essence, an imperative to Q, it is speculation. And if you break down the word, it means to observe from a vantage point. We'll see from different vantage points whether or not there are implications for peace and security coming from quantum innovation.
This ubiquity of quantum mechanics is kind of underappreciated. The fact is, almost everything around us is powered by our mastery of the most basic phenomena in quantum mechanics.
On one level, part of the problem for why quantum hasn't had an effect is because it's very difficult to understand, and that there are multiple possible interpretations and cosmologies that could be associated with the quantum.
We can take concepts from quantum physics and apply it to build guidelines that can help create strategies to promote diversity in the physics community.
There's a whole host of new capabilities that range from applications in mining and standoff detection for military purposes through to more or less the way we organize society.
So the social sciences, for example, would have to take up the concept of the quantum in a really serious way, in a way that restructures the models of the human that they deploy in their models of society, economy, and politics, and so on.
Gender plays an important role in my life. It's not something that I can ignore, and it's not something that society ignores either about me. It's not one or the other, it's both. So maybe it's sort of like, wave-particle duality in that sense.
Inside one of these chips, for example, in a mobile phone, we'll see that there are millions, in fact billions of individual transistors. Imagine if we could actually take one of those transistors and turn it into a quantum bit.
With only 200 logical qubits, the number is larger than all the particles in the universe.
Can the laws of quantum physics really apply to the macroscopic? If we build a quantum computer or other sort of very large-scale quantum technologies, then it will be a definitive yes answer to that question.
The use of quantum computers to model real physical systems which are by their nature quantum mechanical. This potentially opens huge applications in biotechnology, pharmaceutical development and so on.
Quantum teleportation can be achieved with assistance of entanglement. Recently we just able to teleport 2 degrees of freedom.
So the main idea of the book is that human beings are walking wave functions. Background to that idea is that human consciousness and therefore human subjectivity is a macroscopic quantum mechanical phenomenon. So whatever weirdness is going on at the subatomic level is also going on at the human level. Classical phenomena that we're familiar with in everyday life, in the Newtonian mechanics, and our conception of material objects, our conception of causality, all of that breaks down at the subatomic level.
Now, if you ask a physicist how do you describe a single molecule, they would say quantum mechanics.
We have a phenomenon that we know exists and we can describe many of its properties, and that's consciousness. And then we also have a wealth of knowledge about neurophysiology. Now what we need is some sort of model, ideally a mathematical model that can relate those two things, and that's where, to me, the quantum mathematical model came in.
This helps us to understand how we should approach towards consciousness.
Quantum mechanics could scale as far as the mind.
I think it's a revolution happening in biology that not many people are aware of, and it gives a completely new and novel and fascinating insight into the major question of biology. What is life? How does it differ from the inanimate stuff?
I think social science, if they include those informations to their research, they can revolutionize not only mankind, they can revolutionize the whole way of understanding of knowledge.
This difference between one set of questions that we want to ask about how quantum mechanics will be exploited, right? What will be sort of the practical applications and possibilities? And that's always been, in some ways, on the other side of the table from those thinkers and speakers who want to see what quantum can unleash, whether metaphorically, analogically, or quite literally in its changing in how reality works.
I think art can reveal some things about physics that otherwise might not be able to be expressed as neatly in equations or words.
If we think about it in terms of a kind of an emergent human ethic, if we come from everywhere in the sense of that genealogical genetics testifies to, then there may be an emergent human ethic, a right to be anywhere.
The role of quantum mechanics is to help not it move along, the stuff out in the world move along, but rather to help us move along in relation to the stuff out in the world.
In my art, I am painting reality on top of itself. In a way, my paintings make you doubt what you're seeing in reality. You have to hold these two contradictory states in superposition in your mind at the same time.
I'm interested in an account of the trajectory, the arc of those voices, those perspectives, philosophers, poets, musicians, artists, who over time have in one way or another divined aspects, almost in a kind of premonitory way, of the quantum moment that we are inhabiting, a quantum moment that is only 100 years old.
If math is a universal language, I think art in a way is the universal language of the strange, expressing things that can't be given in merely letters and symbols and numbers, but in a realm altogether different.
As we all know, trying to affect social change, positive social change in particular, is a many-causal, complicated undertaking. I'm struggling to find a way to articulate the energy, the intellectual curiosity, all the ideas presented around this table in a way that will resonate with the very classical framework in which philanthropy operates.
I would argue that quantum social science has enormous significance for climate change.
We're now at a stage in quantum technologies where it's moved from a thing to study to a thing to exploit. And if that's the case, then people are going to want to monopolize these capabilities. Those developing these technologies will determine who is empowered by them.
This symposium is an essential attempt to peer into the future, which is
very difficult to predict.
It's time for not just a quantum revolution, but a quantum social revolution. And I'm really happy to be here to hear all of these different insights.
We don't have a scientific account of how we moved from our pre-conscious state to becoming conscious humans. The event horizon of quantum consciousness, in a sense, reproduces that trigger event in our past. We have done it before. We don't know how we did it then. We don't know how it's going to happen in the future. But it's undoubtedly going to happen.